Proverbs.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Proverbs of the Black Drama Therapist, where you will learn wisdom and creative ways to deal with mental and social topics such as depression, trauma, grief, anxiety, and so much more in a great and creative way. Hello, I am Theresa White, registered drama therapist, licensed clinical mental health counselor. I am the CEO and founder of Drama for Change, Healing is Possible, and In Time Creative Counseling Services. Let's get into today's episode. If you're wanting to know about our services, you're welcome to reach out to me, message me on any of the platforms, or you're welcome to send me email at info, or actually the Black Drama Therapist at gmail.com. So all one word, the Black Drama Therapist at gmail.com. Let's get into tonight's topic, or this week's topic. And we've been on this trail of stress awareness, because it's Stress Awareness Month, y'all. And especially as women, we need to know what stresses us and what we're doing when we're stressed. We need to be aware. And so it's important that we give awareness. And so tonight's topic, I want to pose a question. Are you stress eating, or are you really hungry? Yep, we asking the real questions today. When you eat, is it because you're hungry? Yeah. Or is it because you're stressed? I want to tell about myself. That song is, let me hear you say blessed, blessed, blessed. My song tonight as a drama therapist is I always make up songs on the spot. Let me hear you say stressed, stressed, yeah, stressed, yeah. Eating in the morning, in the noonday, in the evening. Sorry, it's a Fred Hammond song called Blessed. I just changed the words. But yes, sometimes we're eating in the morning, in the noonday, in the evening, and it's not because we are hungry. It's because we are stressing or we're emotionally eating. And so I want to show you the difference between emotional eating and for you to know your stress signals and if you're eating because of stress or some other emotion, right? Now, hunger is absolutely, you can feel hungry. It can be an emotion, right? I'm hungry, or a sensation, not an emotion. It's a sensation. You absolutely want to respond to that sensation. Please respond when you're hungry, right? Your body is letting you know it needs nutrients. But a lot of times we are not responding to that sensation. We're responding to the emotional sensation in our where our dopamine is low, where our emotions are driving the car, I guess, in this sense, driving this body, this vehicle, right, that we call a body. And it's telling you to do something to satisfy its emotional craving instead of for nutrients for the body. So I said I'm going to tell you about myself. So I love ice cream. I love eggs from my head down to my legs. I love cream. I love all the kinds, even eat it in my dreams. Like, I really like ice cream, okay? So, and I am an ice cream connoisseur. I don't have to have, I like ice cream so much, I don't need the fancy ice cream. I can eat from Breyers. I can eat from the fancy, hole in the wall ice cream places that nobody knows about, the gourmet places, or I can get me $1 ice cream, from a fast food place. Get a tube, or not a tube, a gallon of ice cream from a grocery store. I like ice cream, right? And I started to become aware of the fact that I was eating ice cream as an emotional response more than just a nice treat, I guess I would say. Of course, it's not nutritious food for my body, but I recognized that after I had a really long day, and I saw a lot of clients that day, and we dealt with a lot of heavy things, the first thing I thought about when I left the office was going to get some ice cream. So, and I would just think, oh, I'm going to give me some ice cream. I want to, and it was like, go to a McDonald's when I used to eat McDonald's. I don't eat that anymore. But when I used to go to McDonald's, I'm going to give me $1. That way I used to have the little dollar Sundays, you can get the chocolate with the nuts on it, right? That was a treat for me. And so I would go, oh, I'm going to get me some ice cream. And I would leave, and every day I would think that. Or when I really was like on lunch, or like I was like, this is, I was really energetic through the day. And I felt like when I got to the middle of my day, because things were really heavy that people were dealing with. And of course, there are moments that therapists um, can be dealing with vicarious trauma, right? Where you carry too much of what your clients have presented in the office. This was in my earlier years. And so I would recognize, okay, like, ooh, I feel really drained. I'm gonna give me some ice cream. When I started to notice, like week after week, that every single day I left the office, or when I felt drained, or even when I had, what, it wasn't even just when I felt drained. When I had a really good day, I wanted to reward myself with ice cream. When I had a really stressed day, I wanted to give myself some ice cream to make myself feel better. That's when I started to notice, wait a minute, Theresa, this is a pattern that's not okay. Because I was asking, is it ice cream that you need? Or what is it that you really need? Do you need to really detox and like release the stress of the day? Like, you need to release the stress of the day, not take in more, right? Eating ice cream is taking in more into my body. When my system was really telling me, I need a release, I need to get this stress off, or the heaviness of the day, or the exhaustion of the day, I need to go lay down and rest, right? I was not paying attention to that signal. I was in a place where I was on autopilot in my choices. And so I'm somebody that traces back. When I'm working with people, I trace back to origin. What I call an origin therapist. So when we talk about how you believe and what you do and your behaviors and relationships, I'm always going back to, where did that start? Because we can cut down a tree, but if the roots are still there, it's going to continue to grow, right? So that's a free wisdom nugget for you. When I was starting to assess and really become aware of this pattern of wanting to eat ice cream every day, and I like ice cream, I can eat it all day, right? Well, I won't say all day, but I can eat it every day and then not be too much for me. So I was like, okay, I need to really like assess this. And so I started to say, okay, Theresa, where did this start? And I remember in my childhood that I would like to eat ice cream, and ice cream made me feel good. So I started to really think, okay, ice cream is sweet, it's cold. So I assessed the temperature of the food that I was wanting to eat, and what was it doing to my system? Was it cooling down, and maybe, or not cooling down, but on a hot day, yes, it was cooling me down, but I can eat ice cream in the wintertime as well. It would wake me up as well. Like, it would wake up, the exhaustion, right? The sweetness. And so I began to say, okay, you know what? This is clearly not because you're hungry, right? Or because you need a nutrient. Your system needs something else. Now, I'm using ice cream as my example because that's when I realized that I was stress eating, right? Or grabbing a food or something edible for stress purposes, not because my system really needed it for nutrients. Now, I begin later on, a couple of years later, to look at other foods and say, okay, well, I really want savory food. So when I noticed at nighttime, if I'm watching, maybe a nice TV show, watching The Chosen, that's one of my series that I'm watching right now. I really like that show. And then there's also other ones that I used to watch, This Is Us. I used to watch it with my family, things like that. And so immediately I wanted popcorn or some kind of candy and snacks. I was like, where is this coming from? You are not. And it wasn't, even when I was hungry, I wanted popcorn, some butter popcorn, or some nachos and snacks. And because it put me in the idea of the movie theater. So what my system was really trying to do at that time was connect to a memory, right? It was saying, when we watch TV, we need to have snacks, which is not always the case, but that's what I was thinking at the time. And so I recognized that I began to make a pattern out of something that went on when I was a child. Same way with the ice cream. The reason why I'm bringing those two examples up is to help you to be able to look at your own patterns. When you are wanting a certain food, I want you to think about, is this because I'm hungry? Ask that question for yourself. Am I hungry? Is my stomach growling? Is my body needing nutrients? Have I not had anything to eat? When I'm wanting coffee, is it because I'm really needing energy or to be able to focus? Or am I just wanting the taste, the savoriness, or the sweetness? Because it's something, it's sugar, right? I just need that habit that I'm used to having every morning or whenever you drink coffee, right? I say that because it's important to know what the reason is that you're desiring a food or a drink, because the same, whatever you are feeding, whatever that reason is what you're feeding, is what I mean to say. So for example, with my ice cream, if I'm eating ice cream during stress or when I'm really trying to feel this exhaustion, which again is another emotion, right? So I'm emotionally eating, it's not going to fulfill my nutritional value, excuse me, in my body. It's going to feel my emotional, which means that why I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting bigger or why I got love handles, because I'm not feeding my body's need for nutrients. I'm feeding my emotional system. And so it has, my body has nowhere to store it except in the emotional system. And so then it starts packing on excessive weight, which is how a lot of times people who are struggling with weight, again, sometimes I'm not saying it's for everybody, but a lot of times it's because they are stress eating. I'm frustrated, so I eat something. Give me a bag of chips. If you're frustrated and then you want to go eat, that's not the same thing as being hangry or your body system being so frustrated or angry because you have not fed it for several hours. That's not the same thing as being frustrated. So you go get a bag of chips or go get something savory or salty to eat. That means you're feeding the emotional system of you instead of the nutritional system, where it can digest, and take the nutrients and give your body fuel. You're fueling the emotion. So whatever the reason is, so to make it very simple, whatever the reason is that you are that's giving you the hunger. So the source of the hunger is what you're feeding when you eat, if you're going to eat according to that particular emotion or source. So if I am emotion driven when I'm putting food or beverages in my system, then that means I'm feeding that emotion, not the emotion, not the nutritional system of my body. If I'm eating because my stomach is growling, or I'm thirsty, so I'm drinking water. If I'm feeding what my body needs for fuel to be able to function at its optimal status, then that's where the food is going to go. It's going to hit that system because that's the source of what I'm eating or the reason why I'm eating or drinking. So hopefully that connects and you understand what I mean. So with that, it's important for you to be able to assess the source of why you're eating, because when you're able to do that, you can then take control of what you're putting in your body and the reasons why you're putting it in your body. Now, again, with ice cream, and so it really, with my ice cream example, it really helped me get control over not eating ice cream all the time. I was like, you know what? I don't always need ice cream. When I started to really attack, I don't want to say attack. That's not a kind word. When I began to address, because I became aware of the status and really the source of what my ice cream cravings were coming from, that it was an emotional pull. My system was looking for an emotional relief and release. It was feeling tired, exhausted. It wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel like I was giving myself a reward for having a good day or a long day. Even when I had a good day, I wanted ice cream. If I had a long day and was stressed or really tired, I wanted ice cream, because it became also a reward as well as a calmer. That's how I knew that the source of it was emotional. And so when I began to really address that, that's when I was able to say, you know what, I can get control over this if I give my system what it really needs. Right now, it's calling for ice cream. It is reminding me, my emotional system, the brain is saying, give me ice cream, because that's what it's used to. But I have to say, no, you don't need ice cream. You need sleep. No, you don't need ice cream. You're thirsty because you have not really drank water all day because you've been in focused on other people and taking care of them. You have not taken care of your own system. Or check in, Theresa, have you eaten today? So when we talk about, as a drama therapist, I talk about several times that I'm giving check-ins. A check-in is a pause moment in time, and we don't do enough of these because Paul and what I call, pause and what we call in the scriptures gives it it's called a Selah moment, which means it's a reflective moment. Really think about what was just stated, what was just happening right before this moment. So when you see the scriptures in Psalm, when he's, blessed is the Lord, you know, great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, Selah, right? That means, okay, don't just move past that. That means pause, reflect on what was just said, what was just declared or read or prayed, right? So when we have a moment in our bodies, in our life, and it's not just our bodies, our emotions, our spirit, we're a whole system, right? And so it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be physical, whatever it may be. When we have a Selah, we need to pause and reflect and say, what is really happening? Where is this behavior, this urge, this desire, where is it rooted in? Is it rooted in stress? If it's rooted in stress, do I want to feed this stress or do I want to take control of this and get my body back into alignment to where it needs to be or give it what it needs to be? Maybe it's never had the alignment that it needs, but we need that information so we can say, let me pause. Let me do a check-in. Okay, Theresa, you have not eaten today. So this ice cream craving, yes, your body may be wanting sugar or wanting, that quick, spike in insulin, but you really need to go home and eat some protein and maybe a vegetable. Sit down and drink some water, relax for a couple of hours, and then go lay down and go to sleep. Don't go get ice cream where it's going to feel good at the moment, but later on, it's not going to give your body, your system, your emotions, your mind what it needs. So it's important for us, especially as women, no matter what your age is, ask your question, am I hungry or is this a stress response? Am I hungry or am I stressed? Now, again, let me clarify, when we talk about being hangry, it's not the same thing. If I'm angry or my emotions are on the rise because I have not eaten food for several hours, or I'm really thirsty, so my body's dehydrated and I feel exhausted, that's different. And it's important. You won't know that unless you stop, pause, and check in. Selah for yourself, right? Give that reflection. Have I eaten today? And if I have, was it hearty enough to hold me for what my day's events and tasks are? Does my body need more nutrients? Most likely, yes, it does, right? So when you do that, a lot of times when I am looking at the stress response, when I get the stress response or stress, what word I want to use? Stress urge, right? When I'm saying it said eat to make me feel better, right? Then I have to say, okay, I need to shift. I don't want to eat to feel better. I want to eat to fuel better. It's a difference. Sometimes you can eat to feel or eat to fuel, but you can't. A lot of times one is going to trump the other. If you are fueling, then yes, your feelings will fall in line. The emotions will definitely fall in line. You'll be more able to focus and you won't be frustrated, things like that. If you're eating the food to fuel, right? We know that when we eat healthy and we feel great, we have energy all day, we don't feel depleted. So our emotions come in line, but the top reason is for fuel. So that's why your emotions follow suit. When we eat just to feel, then it's going to spike really high and for a couple, maybe about 30 minutes. It won't even go, it's never sustained. It doesn't go long. It's what we call, with our little children, with toddlers, like, hey, when you give them candy, they're going to be bouncing off walls. That's exactly what happens when we are stress eating. It gives us that fuel, or I'm sorry, not the fuel, but the feel for a short moment. And then we're zonked out. We're more tired. We're depleted. We're more irritable because our body never got the fuel. Our emotions got the feel, but the fuel was just, kind of hanging in the balance. Like, well, what happened to me? I need to give energy. The brain needs to think. You got tasks to do today. That's going to take focus. That takes energy. What source are you feeding? And so that's what I want to share with you on today's episode. I want you just to be able to take that pause moment and ask yourself, am I hungry, or is this an emotional pool? Just because of an emotion. Am I frustrated? Am I exhausted? Am I stressed? Am I worried? I'm so worried that I put food in me. When I worry, I eat. So I'm sitting there snacking while I'm thinking. I'm overeating and snacking. That's not a fuel. That's a feel, right? I'm feeling. And so it's soothing to eat food. So think about the origin. We talked about that a few moments ago. When babies are having an uncomfortable moment, they're upset, the first thing parents typically look at is, are they hungry? Right? The basic need. So they try to give them a bottle, or give them their milk, or their food. And when they move that away, like, okay, no, that's not what it is, then we go to the next thing. Am I tired? We need to lay down. When they're fighting because they don't want to go to sleep, then you say, do they need comfort? So you try to hold them, right? Your system didn't change that. You just got bigger and got older. But your system is still, the first thing is still calling for, hey, acknowledge my need, fulfill my need. And it's not always give me food. That's not always what is needed. So then am I tired? Right? There is what we call, I've talked about this before, the word halt, which is kind of like my pause, right? So you see my hand, the halt, right? HALT. The first one is, am I hungry? So we talk about, are you eating? Are you hungry? Or are you stressed? The first one is to ask, am I hungry? The second one is to ask, am I angry? And anger, again, can go with the hunger, but it's not necessarily the same thing. Angry is, have someone offended me? Am I angry? My what's the word? My values been violated? Has my boundaries been crossed? That's that type of anger, right? So when you have an emotional response, you're looking like, what's going on with me? I can't figure out what's happening. Then halt. Again, that pause, that selah. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Which means I need connection, which is what we do with the babies. We hold them, or we, play with our toddlers. Goo goo gaga, playing with their belly. And okay, they start laughing. They feel better because they wanted human connection. You didn't change. Your system didn't change its need. Humans need human connection. I know some of you are like, I'm introverted. I don't want to talk to nobody, but you can't do that for your whole life. That's where depression and, severe mental illness shows up, because your system is made to, as a human being, you are made to have human connection, safe human connection. So L is, am I lonely? Do I need to talk to somebody? Do I miss my mama, my daddy, my sister, my brother, my friend, my cousin? Do I need to talk to a neighbor? Go out and meet people, go out and be around people. If I don't talk to nobody, you need to have human connection. Am I lonely? Right? Then that last one is, am I tired? Notice that the tired is last. And it's last not in a bad way. It's last because if it's yes for that one, then we can just go to sleep. But if we say, am I tired first, and we negate that we're hungry, or that we're angry, or that we're lonely, then we don't meet those needs. But if those three are met and we're like, okay, now I'm tired, or it's not all of those three, I'm just tired, then we can give our system the rest that it needs and refuel, which again goes back to that source of where the benefit of answering these is always fuel. If I'm really hungry, I need to get some food that's going to fuel me. If I'm angry, I need to address what's making me angry to fuel my emotions, not in a negative way to go off on nobody, but to address whatever injustice or offense or whatever's happening that's bringing up this anger. If I feel lonely, the fuel I need is connection. So then I can feel my emotional system that's crying out for connection. I can feel that tank. And so then everything again balances back out and sets itself back in order. So I don't want to get too far off on that, but I want to address again that first one. It's really important for you to say, am I hungry, truly hungry, or is this emotion? And if it's emotion, am I picking foods to emotionally make me feel better? A lot of times, the emotional foods you get are savory, really high in fat, and high in sugar. And that they cannot be nutritionists in some capacity, but most of the time it's more, again, it's more leaning toward that emotional fuel. It's more toward the feel me, FEEL, and not FUEL. It's not the fuel me, right? You need to fuel yourself so that you can FILL, feel yourself. Your body can, get filled with the nutrients that it needs. But if you are feeling, you're just giving more to the feeling side of things, you're going to feel zonked in a short amount of time, or sluggish, or really heavy, and it's not going to do your body the good that it needs, or as good as it needs. So that's today's episode, this week's episode. I really wanted for especially our women and our young people, our adolescents, if you're an adolescent, or if you're, between that age of 13 to 25, that's a really high time we're just grabbing food because we're growing, right? Our bodies may need fuel for the growth that's happening, but make sure that when you're grabbing that food, that it's not just the sweet and high fat foods, the fast foods, because fast foods have fast crashes, right? Because it doesn't, as I said before, the sustainability is really short, like a cup of coffee. But when we put foods in our body that is made to sustain, and I'll give an example, the foods that take a long time to cook are going to be the highest, or the longest time to grow, prepare, or cook will be the foods that will give your body the longest energy, vitality, nutrients. Foods that are really quick to grow, took no time to get here, no time to prepare, and no time to really, it's instant foods, that means you're going to crash. So think about, the green vegetables that took months to grow, your cabbages and your potatoes, things that came from the ground. It took a long time. Trees, fruit, sometimes take years to grow, right? That's why they're so high in antioxidants and nutritional value, because they took a while to grow. Those fruits are always going to benefit you, or foods are going to always fuel your body and benefit you. Things that are fast, the quick burgers that took you 2 minutes, to grab from the drive-through window, something that, was a quick make. Even when I think about ice cream, there is what we call real ice cream and artificial. And anyone who's ever had real ice cream knows the difference in taste and also how it affects your system. If you are lactose, real ice cream is going to find you. And it just will. If you have a problem with dairy, real ice cream will find you. Artificial may not have an effect on you the way that real ice cream does. That's how you know something is real, because it really hits your system the way it's supposed to. So that's why it's important for you to be able to see and assess before you put anything in you. Before you address a need or a feeling, you need to know the origin from, so you can know how to absolutely appropriately address it, right? So you can't do that until you are aware of it. So stop ignoring when you're putting foods or sweets or whatever, drinks or foods you're putting in your body. Ask yourself, am I hungry or am I stressed? And if you're stressed, let's find a different release, and let's find a different way to address this particular need that our body is our emotions are asking for. It's not food, unless, again, we're genuinely hungry, and at that time we need to pick something nutritionist so that we can fuel, and then the emotional system will balance itself out, because the fuel will do what it needs to do, or the food will do what it needs to do to break it down and take care of the emotion too, which is so great about nutrition is food. Those God foods, right? Foods from the earth, right? The foods that are good for you. So that is our episode on Proverbs of the Black Trauma Therapist. Thank you so much for being present for another episode and listening. Please share with someone. I'm also a teacher, trainer, and consultant. So if you're interested in those services to be able to help to get your life back on track, please reach out to me. I would love to be a help to you personally or to your business. See you again for another episode. Again, Sheila, have a blessed week. Bye bye.